Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Autism Rocks and Rolls podcast Hijack series. Today's guest is Miss Janet Schultz. Janet, how are you doing, my friend?
Doing great, Sam.
Awesome.
Thank you
And
for having me
people, make
today.
sure to check her out because she's from Blue Clean. Make sure to check her out because she's from Blue Jay Clean franchise. But she's going to tell us about that right now. So, Janet, take her away.
All right, thanks, Sam. I'll be glad to. It's one of my favorite subjects. I started a small office cleaning company back in 2012 as a means for me to make a living for myself. I am a special educator and a social entrepreneur. I live in North Carolina, and I used to clean houses while I was a single mother and teaching school. So when it came time for me to think about starting my own business, it was just logical that I would start a cleaning company. And as you know, Sam, anytime you start a business, that business is fashioned after the owner's personality. And so my personality is that I prefer to go to a small grocery store over a large Publix or Super Walmart or Target. And I prefer to go to a small hardware store over a bigger one, say Lowe's or Home Depot. So that's why small office cleaning, like mom and pops, dentist office, lawyer offices, churches became a very good clientele for us. And that was our niche. We carved a niche out. Now, Sam, in the beginning, this was just a cleaning company as a means for me to make a living. But I did know that I wanted it to have purpose and meaning. I didn't know what cause I would align myself with. So I began, exploring, different types of causes that I could align myself with and stand behind, but nothing seemed to fit or make sense or jive. 2 years into the cleaning company, I grew so fast that I had to bring employees on the scene. And during that time period, I became so frustrated and disappointed in people's ability to be dependable, to show up, to clean the way that I would instruct them to. I had already started writing my processes down. I had, from the beginning, started developing systems that I could follow and that other people could follow so I wouldn't have to be present all the time because I'm not a micromanager. I don't like to stand and hover over people. I like to believe in people in that I train you how to do this and then you learn it and then you can apply it in the job setting. But that's not always the case. Not that they weren't able, but they just didn't follow through. And so, out of frustration, I just literally was at my wits' end and wondered where all these employees were that I needed. And drawing from my special ed background in this when I would teach school, I always gravitated to people with autism, and they always gravitated to me. We tended to just get each other. And so the epiphany just came in my head, the idea, well, you need to look at people with autism. They have the skill set and draw from their strengths in that for the most part, you can't put everybody in a box, right, Sam? When you meet one person with autism, you've met one person. But for the most part, they have a strong work ethic. Routine is not a problem for them. They thrive in a routine. They get better with time. You generally train them, and that's it. They got it down pat. They're dependable, reliable. And so I didn't just jump on the bandwagon and start thinking hiring people with autism or um, offering interviews for them. It was a process that I went through, and the journey took me to a place where they became the best fit. And that became the cause. And that made sense. Everything started to fall into place. The name, the color blue, in the beginning was synonymous with clean, but it became apparent after 2 years that now it was the color of autism awareness. And J still is for my name, Janet. It has no reference to the bird whatsoever. So everything started falling into place. And like I said in the beginning, I had the idea that this was going to be a business model that I was going to be developing, that I would want to pass off to other people that are interested in starting a cleaning company in their area. I had no idea in the beginning what it would look like, and that I would even to this day, today, be promoting this business model that predominantly is developed for and in part by those with autism. And I have, it was just, as a social enterprise, a business for profit that addresses a social need, which is the high unemployment rate of those on the spectrum. This became a win-win. It's not charity. I'm a real boss and they're real employees. If anything, I held them to a higher standard because people that they were among, and I told them that. I said, people, you're the clients that you clean for, because sometimes we had to clean with them present. That was their first encounter with someone on the spectrum. And I said, people will be looking at you, to get an idea and hopefully dismantle a lot of the preconceived stereotypes out there. So this cleaning company became so much more than a cleaning company. It became a place for people with autism, and they didn't just get a job just because they were autistic. They had to go through the interview process. And that was generally a job shadowing experience. And if they weren't socially mature enough, if their behavior was not where they could handle a job or handle critique from an employer, then they weren't ready. They didn't pass. They didn't get the job. So, and there again, this is not a program. It is a professional business, and we offer professional cleaning services. And because of the fact that we were very detail driven and that they follow a routine, we got processes that we follow, this made us consistent. And being consistent in the cleaning world is a big deal because a lot of cleaning companies, they aren't. So we were able to carve a niche and be that for small business owners and meet the needs that they had, and they weren't being satisfied with other cleaning companies. Now, we weren't for everybody. Not everyone understood, what I was, that some of my employees were autistic, and that was okay. And we weren't always the cheapest game in town because the employees were paid premium and we offered a premium service. But I would say we got 98% of the jobs we went after. Yeah, because I found that clients they were very excited to be a part of something bigger than just hiring a cleaning company. When they paid us to clean, they were actually providing a means for someone to work and providing employment. And I gained so much satisfaction from that. It's all for being able to offer someone a job, whether they be on the spectrum or not. But within this, so fast forward from 2012 to 2021, I sold the first cleaning company, the one I started in my area. And so from then on, I've been really trying to promote this business model that I started, that I successfully sold to other people for them to do what I did. And it's a low startup cost. And it also provides expanded services in addition to small office services that a small business owner would need, and would allow people that are maybe all over the spectrum, maybe couldn't clean an office, but could do another service within Blue Jay to offer. So it's just has endless possibilities. And what I would like, message I would like to make clear is that Blue Jay is a testament to the power of work, to what it does for someone, to empower them. When you give them work, you give them a sense of purpose. They are able to gain confidence, build a resume, because most of the employees that are at Blue Jay now there's two left that are still working for Blue Jay that I hired, and they're perfectly happy. That's what they do. That gets them up in the morning, and they work. Some of them work jobs by themselves. They have to be able to work independently. But the others that came through Blue Jay are now working in jobs in the private sector, out in the world, not in a safe cocoon like Blue Jay was, because I understood them and I took the time to help them gain skills and confidence. Adam, um, this was their very first job. Every single person that was autistic that came through Blue Jay, it was their very first job. And Adam, when he was sitting at home, he was in his 20s, and his brother would come home from work, and Adam literally said, "I wish I had a job I could go to." I found out about Adam. Adam went through the job shadowing experience, and by the time, and Adam was with me about 2.5 years, and during that time, Adam, when he left, he was making $10 an hour. He gained enough confidence to get his driver's license, and he would take other team members to and from work. Adam was a team member, a team leader. He would do training, and he would clean jobs by himself. But I knew that Adam, he didn't want to work at Blue Jay. That wasn't where he saw himself, for an extended period of time. So he wanted to work for Federal Express. And guess where he is today? He's working for Federal Express. Because having worked for Blue Jay, having been given an opportunity to work, and the power that comes from that, allowed him to gain the confidence he needed, build his resume. I became a reference for him, and he's now working for Federal Express today. And I've got other stories like that. I would not take anybody's opinion that one of the employees could not work by themselves. That was not something I bought into, because I believe, Sam, that too often in the systems we have created people with disabilities, for lack of a better word, to become cue dependent and not so much independent thinkers, problem solvers. We all process at different rates, and we have to be given wait times, time to process and think it through. So I would not even allow people to come on my job site that came with the idea or the notion that they needed to be with one of my employees so that they could carry out their job because otherwise they wouldn't be able to. I did not even allow them to come on site because that is not what I believed. I believe in independence. And again, it goes back. I expect you can until you prove me otherwise. Now, I saw where you showed an interest in the animated video, training video that I had. Okay. All right, in the box, in the business model, it's what this is. It's a business model that I have. Everything was up here, and we got it written down on paper with the help of the Small Business Administration in our town, with one of the small colleges in our town, and even one of my employees, Joe. Joe helped me get everything up here and wrote it down. And we got a business in a box. It's like a blueprint. It's like a training manual. Everything is in there, the nuts and the bolts, the processes, how to get clients, how to interview, how to market your business, cost analysis, how much is it going to cost? When can I expect a return on my investment? Everything you need to know. Even an animated training video. And because I knew Joe helped me a lot. Joe was very, very intelligent. And Joe helped me a lot understand how a person with autism thinks. So we like to call it's a parallel track of thinking. It's not that I or someone not with autism thinks, or you might think something that's wrong, not necessarily. It's just a different way of thinking. It's a different way of a perspective. So that's what we like to call a parallel track of thinking. And I had the idea because it seemed to me in observation that people with autism liked a whimsical type of world. And so I asked Joe, I said, Joe, do you think that you can come up with characters in a whimsical type of way and let the characters do the training and create a video for that? And he had no idea how to do that, but he taught himself on how to do that. So thank you, Joe. And he's the one who provided the training videos for us. So that's something available. That's different. It's very cool. We gave the characters names, and each character would teach you how to clean a bathroom or how to clean a window or a mirror. It's pretty cool. Would you like me to tell you some more stories? Okay. All right. Let me see. One of my favorite stories would be Eric. Eric was my first employee that I hired on the spectrum. He wasn't my first employee, but he was my first employee on the spectrum. And Eric, I was told that Eric couldn't clean by himself, that he would have to have a job coach or something like that. And you see, I'm not for that. Okay. We don't need that. We train our own on the job training. Okay. Because I wanted to know that Eric could think on his own, and I believed he could. So Eric, he went through the job shadowing, and Eric, I loved cleaning with Eric. I just loved it. We got right to business, and we did our thing. We were in our zone. Eric, Eric didn't talk much, but there was a lot going on up here. Because when he did say something, it was profound. So one story that I'd like to tell about Eric, and Eric was given a lot of responsibility, and Eric would clean jobs on his own. When Eric was on the job, I would not worry. I knew that things would be done right. Because see, these processes that I developed, Sam, were put into place so I didn't have to be there all the time, right? Because I need to be able to train you how to do it, and you take it and you do it. And that way we can grow bigger and bigger and bigger, right? I can't be everywhere at once. So I have to keep duplicating myself. I have to always be training someone. So Eric was a team leader. He was making $10 an hour. Eric couldn't drive. Eric was living with his mom, and he depended on her to get him to and from work. Well, Eric's mother developed cancer, and she's not wasn't able to take him to work a lot, most times. Sometimes Eric would call me and ask me if I was able to, and I'd say yes, I could or not. But this particular day, he didn't call me. And Eric, somehow, I don't remember exactly, Sam, how I found out about it, but I guess I called Eric or went to where Eric was working to just check on him or something. And I said, Eric, how did you get to work? Because I knew often it was difficult for him to sometimes get to, to jobs. And he said, I took the bus. I said, you took the bus? He said, yeah. I said, well, how did you know what bus route to take? He said, I looked it up on the computer. So Eric looked on the computer, found the bus routes he needed to take from his house and to the job site and the ones in between. He didn't call me. He had a problem. And he figured out how to solve it on his own. He used his problem-solving skills that having been working with Blue Jay and I developed that type of culture and I modeled that kind of behavior, he was able to do it on his own. And I said, well, Eric, and see, I started out with less than nothing. And we didn't have a lot of money to spare. So we only had one vacuum cleaner, Sam, for the jobs that we had. And so guess who had that vacuum cleaner most often? Eric did, because he was on the most jobs. And Eric took that vacuum cleaner with him on the bus. And I just find that an inspirational story. Because Eric didn't rely on anybody else. He was independent and he figured out a solution to his problem. And I just love that story. And that's just an example of when given the opportunity, he soared. He showed what he was made of. And I love that. And so Eric had to leave us because his mother passed away and he went to live with his sister in South Carolina. And it took a long time to recover because Eric, when he left a hole, a void. He was that important to us. And even Eric had we said that Eric was the keeper of the keys because there was a big wad of keys that Eric had, and he had several jobs, keys to several jobs on there. That's a big responsibility to have the keys to a place of business. But I didn't hesitate because Eric showed me what he was made of. He showed me that he could be responsible and I could trust him with it. And one day at one of the job sites, Eric was on the team with someone who wasn't autistic, that was just a regular old team member. And they texted me and said Eric wouldn't give them the keys. And I said, well, Eric shouldn't give you the keys. Eric's the keeper of the keys. So Eric's not going to give you the keys. And you shouldn't ask Eric for the keys. See, they didn't have the trust or even the expectation that Eric, because he was autistic, couldn't be responsible for keys. But you see, I stood behind Eric because I believed in Eric's ability when no one else did. And he didn't give up those keys either. And I've got lots of stories like that. But why should I keep this idea, which it is, I'm selling an idea. I'm selling the Blue Jay idea. Why should I keep this idea to myself? Why should it just be isolated to our community in North Carolina? Sam, I want other people to know that they can do what I did in their community. And they can join us and align with us the mission that we're creating an impact, a change in the workplace. And that is what I'm doing. I have started someone, actually a mom. This is a story too, and I'll end on this note that I met this lady 5 years ago at an Autism Society of North Carolina conference. And I've always been talking about the Blue Jay idea, the Blue Jay cleaning business in a box, but no one had seemed to be, lots of people have been interested, but no one's really bought it. And so she kept my card. For 5 years, this lady kept my card. And she called me up a year ago and said, I'm ready. She's a librarian in one of our neighboring towns, and her son is autistic. And he had a job at a hospital, but he got fired. And she said, now's the time. We need to do this together as a family. I had put my idea on the shelf. I thought nobody cares. I'm delusional. It's not really an idea that's going to work. But you know what? When this lady called me out of the blue a year ago, I took it off the shelf. She gave me the confidence I needed to start talking it up again. That maybe now's the time. And I've been doing all these podcasts, and I'm very grateful to you, Sam, for allowing me this platform to share, because I want it to start taking traction. I want to get in front of people. So let them know what opportunities are out there. Because children with autism, they grow up, don't they? And they become adults. And they want to be productive. You want to be productive, don't you, Sam? You are productive. Sometimes you got to create your own opportunity. You can't wait for one to come along. And that's what I'm offering people, an opportunity. And help me change the world.
Miss Schultz, you're right there. You're right. Sometimes in life, you do have to create your own opportunities, but there are some questions that come to mind. So, have you ever had an employee who was on the spectrum and you just took him in because maybe at first or down the line, it was kind of like charity? You just kind of hoped they would do good, but they proved you wrong. You had no high expectations just because of what the parents said. Maybe when you did the job interview, you're just like, you know what, I'm going to take him in just for the heck of it, but I was wrong. Have you had an employee like that?
I've had not just people on the spectrum, but other people too, that I wanted to give them a chance. That maybe they could be work it out, but maybe not. And boy, I had a bad experience because their behavior was not good. I mean, they would have outbursts and they just didn't have control of themselves. Do you know what I'm saying? And they didn't have that self-awareness that they needed to be on the workplace. So they needed to grow up some. So yes, I've had to fire some. I certainly have. And sometimes, Sam, I had to. Sometimes the parents will get in the way because they would not let go of their adult child and allow me to be the employer. They wanted me to go through them to do scheduling and things like that. And I'd say no. I mean, this is a real business. I said, I hired Austin. I did not hire you. So I'm going to talk directly with Austin. And some parents didn't like that. And we butted heads, and their child just didn't make it. And that was their fault. That was on them. But the good news is that the majority of the parents say, I'm so glad that you helped me to get out of the way because you allowed me to see what my child could do.
Okay, let me ask you this then too. How do you how would you advise other um HR people, like people in the workforce, to handle this population of because they're scared of they're going to have an outburst. Maybe they're scared they're going to blow up at a client because the client did something to just pardon the French, but piss them off. I mean,
Well,
how do you handle that?
I think that you have to be very thorough in your screening. And I think that I believe in internships. I think that internships are a good way to perhaps get your foot in the door and you can be on probation, a probationary period where you are, because it's, you might say, I'm not going to, you might in your interview or whatever, not show or display any signs of behavior that would cause anyone alarm. But you need to be in situations that, I mean, that just occur. And I think that communication is very important. Employer and the people on the team, we don't need to be afraid of each other. We need to be able to communicate. And I believe that if you ask the person, like I did, I would ask my autistic employees, how is it best to communicate with you? What are situations that cause you stress? You have to be able to communicate and talk through things and be willing to be proactive. You need to take the time and investment in really getting to know that person so that you can be proactive and head off things. Try to make sure things don't happen and get out of control. Does that make sense?
Yes, and that leads me to this question. What about situations where they got the job? Awesome. They do great, and they are doing great, but then they run into this just situation of, okay, maybe someone says something that offended them, or maybe they just don't know how to handle something socially. And they'll come to you and they're like, Mr. Schultz, this happened today, and I'll be 100% honest. I don't know what to do. I'm not being a jerk. I don't know what to do. Do you help them out with that?
Of course, because anytime a company is a culture, a company becomes family. And absolutely, relationships are very important. We have to work alongside of each other. Absolutely. We have to talk things through. But I have found that I haven't had that to come up as an issue with people with autism, getting upset with each other. Well, maybe on occasion or two, but this is how I would encourage them to handle it. But if they felt very uncomfortable with it, they would need to come to me and I would get involved. I would help sort it out. But I want to be able to give you the tools that you need to deal with that particular relationship or that issue, that problem,
Okay,
and
that's
not
actually
shy
my
away
fault.
from
I
it.
meant not with each other. I meant like the relationship and the with the client and the employee. That's what I meant.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
Client and employee.
I wasn't clear on that. That was completely my fault.
That's okay. Um, well, if there was an issue, uh, they would come to me and and then in that case, see, I wouldn't allow, I don't think it's good practice for an employee to talk with a client. So I wouldn't, if there was a problem that they were having with a client, say Eric had a problem. Not that he did, but he had a problem or didn't understand or was, something that a client said and it bothered him. And he didn't, I do not want Eric. I do not want Eric to say anything to that client. That's not his place. That's my place as the employer. Okay. So if Eric is just concerned about that, he'll come and talk to me, and then I will decide if it's something that I can talk Eric through. Is it something that Eric misunderstood? Okay, because we oftentimes are misunderstood and get misunderstood, don't we? And then I would decide. And as the employer, it's my job to now go to that client if I feel it's needed. Does that answer your question?
Yes, yes. And then I actually want to dig into your excuse me, I can keep my voice straight today. I actually want to dig into your special education background a little bit. So, what
Okay.
have these, when you were a special education teacher during your tenure, what did the special education students who were in your classroom teach you about life?
Great question. Oh, I'm going to tell you this, Sam. Those lessons didn't come until much later in life for me as I reflect back. Okay. So as I reflect back and as I'm older, I'm more seasoned now in life, that I can look back and wish I had more understanding. I wish I had more insight. That's pretty much it. But I can't say honestly that I was able to have that at the time because I was an entrepreneur for the last 20 years of my life. So these lessons in life that I've learned from my students, and I learned more from my employees though. I learned for more. Blue Jay has done more to change me, Sam, than anybody else.
Okay.
Change me for the good
Right.
because
I
I
can tell
came,
it's changed you for the good. I can tell.
yeah. And so I have a lot more, uh, my perspectives are different now.
Right. Right. I got
And I
you.
have a level, yeah, yeah.
You have a level of what though?
Understanding,
Oh,
level
okay.
of understanding.
Okay.
And I'm more of a clear thinker
Right. Okay.
because yeah, yeah. And when I, listen, Sam, when I started this cleaning company, I was undergoing a divorce and it was not something I expected. It was not something that I embraced. So I emotionally, I was not in a good place. So I started this cleaning company as a means to survive. And my employees that were on the spectrum, I owe everything to them because they taught me so much. And it's because of of what I learned from them and the contributions that they brought to Blue Jay, or is how the Blue Jay package was developed to start with.
Right. Sometimes those on
They
the spectrum are the best people alive. They're the best
right,
when you're in the worst situation alive. They're there for you. And it's like
right.
they don't have to be. They want to be.
And I was not always easy to get along with because I was going through trauma myself
Oh no,
as I
what
was,
trauma?
well, the divorce,
Okay.
being out on my own, trying to survive. I was in survival mode for many years. And as I was developing this business model, And they were so understanding. I mean, I owe everything to them because I wasn't always easy to get along with. I was learning at the same time they were.
You helped each other out. You really did.
We sure did. Yeah, it was absolutely. So
Well,
I didn't take them for granted. And I didn't use them because they weren't cheap labor because like I told you, they were making better than minimum wage when they left and still are.
well, that is an incredible
Yeah.
story. I thank you so much for your time. You got to believe in the Blue Jay box theory right here on Blue Jay box or something like that. Blue Jay box.
Blue Jay cleaning business in a box.
I'm gonna try to chant
Thank
here.
you,
Blue
Sam,
Jay
very much.
business clean. Yeah, no, I tried, but thank you again for your time in all
Thanks,
seriousness.
Sam.